envision the term feminism, what do you see? Is it this? Or that? Or maybe that? Well, you're right. But you're also wrong if you're limiting yourself to this and only this. I am a woman, born and raised. I am also a feminist. I have read a bit up on the works of feminism, via, of course, through A.P. Lang and the works of Elizabeth Cady Stanton and Alice Paul, and I'm starting to familiarize myself with more contemporary works. But I think that if you're a woman, you don't really need to be that well-versed in feminist theory. I mean, read up, that's important. But you will never quite have the perspective if you're not a woman. So I will try to illustrate that for you. There are, according to Brian Clock of the National Organization of Men Against Sexism, there are perhaps as many definitions of feminism and feminist theory as there are people who declare themselves to be feminists. Feminism is, at its simplest, a movement for equality between sexes. It is not anti-male. It is pro-equality. There are differences between men and women. There's no denying it. Biologically and mentally, we are different. But do those differences make us unequal? Do they determine our lot in life? Well, for a long time, they did. Up until about the 20th century, women were the property of their families until they were married, wherein they were the property of their husbands. And they really weren't encouraged to get jobs outside of having a social life and a family life. But that was all solved when we got the vote in 1920, right? Well, unfortunately, this still exists. The glass ceiling is a term used to describe the systematic suppression of certain groups in the workforce. And for women, especially women who aren't white, it's a huge reality. According to Bloomberg Businessweek, women as of 2012 make on average 77 cents to the dollar that their male counterparts make. This sort of disparity has always existed ever since men and women were able to hold the same jobs. The Equal Pay Act, passed in 1963, was certainly a valiant effort, but in the end, we've only raised the amount that women are paid on average 18 cents. 18 cents in 49 years. And as of the beginning of this decade, it has come to an indefinite halt. According to Forbes, America ranks 22nd in the world for equal pay, which is pretty shocking for the alleged greatest country in the world. So, why? Well, I don't think there's any real reason as to why, but if I had to hazard a guess, I would say that the sludgy pace is sort of by this age-old notion that men are the breadwinners of the family, and women are deemed too socially or physically weak to be of equal value in the workplace, and therefore are worth less. This is reinforced socially. In America, it's a toxic place for women. Our politics and media are full of gender-based restrictions that inhibit our growth as society. Women have to be thin, but have to have curves in the right places. They have to be funny, but not to the point where they make people feel stupid. They have to be the perfect balance of confidence and demureness. And they can't dress too sexy, but they can't dress too prudish. So basically, it's a huge trap. Ultimately, though, I believe that one of the greatest threats to women's advancement is women. Women who refute the movement by reinforcing gender roles and being sexist themselves. Some women want to be like men, because being a man is associated with being strong and powerful and confident. That's why the expression, who wears the pants in the relationship, still exists. If you're a girl and you would rather dress or act like a boy, that's acceptable, which it should be. But this affects men too, because when a man wants to do the same, it's not okay. It's comical or downright wrong for a man to express extreme emotion because it's womanly, and there's no integrity in being a woman. Thusly, we have inhibited both genders from expressing themselves fully. Women aspire to be like men. They don't want to be perceived as weak, and this usually involves them saying, girls are just drama, they make the sandwich jokes and all those awful things. There's nothing wrong with wanting to be stronger, but cutting down women is not how it's done. Strength does not negate femininity. Femininity does not negate strength. I haven't worn pants to school in 2 years, but does that make me any less willful? I should think not. The truth is, we as a society aren't very kind to women. But that's society's problem, right? Well, who's society? Us. So this falls to us, the youngins, as the future generation of employers, employees, patrons, parents, to ensure equality for the future. Thankfully, the powers that be have noticed. Countries like Sweden have taken an active role in the fight, creating gender-neutral early education programs that promote equal opportunity and respect. Another thing they did was this year Sweden did a gender-neutral Toys R Us catalog, which was just a very conscious, deliberate effort to sort of spin it around, wherein they had girls posing with toys that are usually marketed toward boys, and boys posing with toys that were usually marketed toward girls. And it seems to be working because the majority of college graduates and job holders in Sweden are women. The Swedish Institute proudly displays this on their website. And one of the United Nations Millennium Goals is to ensure across-the-board gender equality so that education and opportunity can be afforded to girls in countries not quite as affluent as Sweden. But how do we, as citizens here in Pendleton, Oregon, fix it? We discipline ourselves. We stop allowing ourselves to make sex-based judgments, both sexes. It's a lot easier than you would think. We just need to change our attitude a little bit. We need to let go of some of the archaic ideas we grew up with and champion positivity and equality. And we need to be unafraid of taking a cause, because at our age, it's really hard to stand firm with something because we're not supposed to do it. We're supposed to remain aloof and stoic, not too upset or too proud about anything. Okay, so confession. I really don't like the term feminism. I think it's a bit of a misnomer. I think that the implication having femin in the title makes it sound like less of an equality movement and more like moving toward making women superior to men, which I don't agree with. I think that equalism would be a better term, but as Hermione Granger says in Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, fear of a name only increases fear of the thing itself. And feminism, for better or for worse, is the title. And in addition, I think it's a shame that such a positive movement carries such a negative connotation. Of course, there are extremists. Every movement has extremists. Extremists get stuff done. But the simple truth is, we can't say we support gender equality without supporting at least the basic tenets of feminism. Regardless of what terminology you use, if you support gender equality, you support feminism, and I applaud you. In closing, I hope to leave you a little bit more enlightened about the cause. I encourage you to stand up for what you think is right. You shouldn't be afraid of feminism. Women especially shouldn't be afraid of feminism, because it's how we even got the vote and the Equal Pay Act in the first place. You don't need to burn your bra. You just have to change your attitude.
Does anybody have any questions that they'd like to ask Katie? We'll have 3 questions. Go ahead, Maurice.
Has the U.S. done anything like Sweden has done with the marketing ads?
Not really. Not any conscious efforts to. Oh, no, actually, there was something Hasbro did. There was a boy in, I think, like Ohio, and he wanted an Easy Bake Oven, but he didn't want like a pink Easy Bake Oven. So Easy Bake Oven started making Easy Bake Ovens more marketed toward boys than just the strictly feminine pink ones, which I thought was really sweet. So that's an example of that happening in America.
In Johnson's class, we learned that women usually take degrees that are more arts oriented, and men take more science and math. Could that be the reason that women make less in the workplace?
That's possible. I mean, but the way I'm talking about it is that in comparison, if they're in the same jobs, that's what I mean. To their 99 cents, they would make 77, and that's just the average. And that's more as you climb the pay scale. Lower down, it's closer together, but on average, if they're in the exact same position, it's 77 cents difference.
I heard the term the glass elevator. What is that?
That's sort of the fight against the glass ceiling. That's more toward the movement toward education and empowerment for women in an effort to break the glass ceiling.
Great. Excellent. Thank
it's
you.
Also in